Like the jumping around dancing stuff, like that was cute. I actually was like, that's funny.
Sure. Like if that's all it was, if it was like you go watch the show and then you leave, or like you go and like watch the kids play games, or great. But instead it's like, okay, you're going to go do that. Then you're going to awkwardly eat and try and socialize with parents that maybe they like you, maybe they don't. Like, it's
well, probably feel the same way that you do about being there, where everyone's just kind of like, it's such a forced interaction that you end up like. And it's the same thing. So like, then, I ended up just talking to Aaron because I know you're in your own personality space for those things because you're trying to be like, the only one who acts normal is your wife.
Oh yeah. Because that's just Aaron.
Yeah. So you can like talk to Aaron, but then at the same time, like, then you're trying to like monitor your kid with other kids. And that's always awkward. Like, it's not awkward if it's Thea because I know Thea and I can talk to Thea, but like the other kids you don't know. So you're trying to like parent your kid and not parent other kids because you can't, you know what I mean? But like, it's just really, it's like all the like most anxiety inducing things. And like, I have an introverted wife anyway. So you're basically putting her in a situation that she just fucking hates.
Right.
And like, I'm extroverted, but I'm bad in those situations. So it's like, I just don't know what to do.
Sure.
So I want to get, I'm in and out of those as fast as fucking possible.
Yeah, as you should be.
And the last one we went to, Miles had a fucking meltdown, so I just left.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great excuse.
Yep.
Like just constantly poke your kid until they start yelling at you. It's like, I'm sorry, they've got a problem right now. I think we need to leave.
I think I'm so sorry. It was the Easter thing. I walked in, done.
Yeah.
Because he thought he was going to get to leave, and then we were staying, and he was just not about it.
Oh,
so finally, I was just like, all right, we're going home.
All right, we're leaving.
Yep, we're leaving.
We will leave then. If you want, we will leave. Fine.
And later. And it's really embarrassing, and you leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how it goes. That is exactly how it goes. That's how it feels.
It's like the field trips. I don't want to go on the field trips. I want him to go on the field trip. I don't want to go on the field trip.
And here's the thing. I am obligated to go on the field trips because I secretly know that they need the parents to go, or else it's just awful for the teachers. And I go, it's like you're going into a foreign space where there's lots of other people around with kids who will run off at a moment's notice.
And that's why, like, when they're on Fridays, I have no excuse not to go because I'm off and he's with me anyway.
Sure.
Unless an audition comes up. So.
Oh, look at that. You got an audition that day.
Sometimes that does actually happen.
That was really fortunate. I'm so sorry. I'm auditioning for the Housewives of West Central Virginia.
Gotta go.
It's really important. It's a big opportunity for me.
Gotta go. That happened at one event last summer where, like, last minute I got an audition on a Friday and I was like, oh.
Deuces.
Here you go.
Sorry, Miles. You're going to have to come home with
Aaron. He's like, later.
Dad's not here? Cool. Unlimited Taco Bell.
True.
I don't know. What is he eating these days? Fuck it. Let's go ahead and get into the show. We'll do the thing. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Two Dumb Dads. I'm Chris.
I'm Nick.
And this is episode 58 for July 12th. It's been a little while since you've heard from us because I made promises and I didn't keep them.
Actually, I didn't keep them.
Well, that's an important thing. I made promises for you and you didn't keep them. So we're going to just kind of jump in today, pretend like nothing happened, and we're just going to, I don't know, run with it.
Yeah.
So here's my thought. We didn't talk about this because I just wrote down our show notes and didn't go over it with you. So we're going to go back to the old-fashioned way of doing things like for an episode.
Adventure and dadding?
Yeah, we're just going to do an adventure and dadding real quick. Just kind of catch up with each other. Like, hey, let's talk about how things have been for the past month or so since we did an episode. Like a month and a half since we did like a proper episode that wasn't an interview or something.
The interview was really good though, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it. It was an interesting conversation.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah. And then I don't know. We'll talk about the fun, exciting new thing.
Yeah.
We'll announce that. Screw it. No, you've already read it. I'm sure I've titled this like, "Hey, everybody, we're spoiling the shit out of Spider-Man."
Yeah.
We're going to talk about Spider-Man. We literally just got back from seeing it, so we're going to talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you been, man. What's new in the world of
good? I mean, it's crazy how much a month can change things. Things are good. I guess the biggest thing, this is most recent, is we're on Passygate 2019.
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that.
So my plan initially was to break the pacifier before we went to Illinois, which was when this big long break happened, right?
Oh, that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, you don't do it before the trip.
That's why I didn't do it. And I also didn't do it because, like, I was talking to Sarah, And I was like, I'll do it now because I don't have to really do anything. I don't have to I'm off work. And this is before I got this part-time summer job. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't need sleep. And Sarah's like, great. So I don't need sleep. Basically bringing up the point that even though I'm the one getting up, she's still going to get woken up by our kid that doesn't sleep.
Sure.
And she's right. So then I felt bad. And then we left for vacation, and then that we weren't going to do it then. So then we got to the point where he was just having it at naps and bedtime pretty consistently. And then I don't know why I just was like, we've got to get him off of it because it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. He's already down to only having it twice a day. And so my brilliant mind, because I'm an asshole, was like, I'll start it at a daycare.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Nick. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was like, I'll do this.
God, asshole. The kid. Thea has come home exhausted the last 3 days because she hasn't fucking slept.
Yep. That's when I do everything. I'm like, I'll start at the daycare.
Yeah, I know.
I pay them a lot of money. So anyway, I thought, my thought process, they get off at daycare. That's one sleeping schedule that he won't need it. So it'll be easier to get him off of the next one because he already knows what it's like to sleep without the passy.
Uh-huh.
And that didn't work. He's not using it because they're really good about not giving it to him. And then his teacher said that we should probably try it at home too because it might be confusing him. And I heeded that advice.
Yeah, that's my wife.
Yep, I heeded that advice.
As you should.
From the expert.
Always.
And so we had our first night sans pacifier in a long time. Mm-hmm. And it started off rough and was okay till about 5 a.m.
And that's when he came in and stabbed you all?
Yeah, I think that's what he wanted to do.
Okay.
I had to get up and teach, and all I heard was stuff being thrown out of the crib.
That's
so
amazing.
He had a full-on tantrum because I think he wanted his pacifier and couldn't have it. So we'll see how night 2 goes, though he is taking a nap today because I think he's so sleep deprived.
Oh, sure.
That he's just died of exhaustion.
Yeah, eventually his body's just going to give out on him.
Yeah.
Which is relieving, really.
Yeah, that's where we were at today. And I knew it when he woke up. I'm like, he's going to pass the fuck out today.
Yeah, as soon as he can calm down enough to fall asleep, he's going to.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see how tonight. What we really did was, it's kind of like sleep training again. We just ended up having to rock him a lot. Yeah. So I knew this would happen. We put him to bed. He freaked out because he wanted his passy. So we had to go back up. Because when he's freaking out, he won't let you touch him. You just kind of have to let him freak out for a little bit. And then eventually you can be like, do you want to hug? Do you want to rock? And he's calmed down enough that he'll let you soothe him.
Sure.
And then I tried rocking him, which didn't work. Sarah was able to get him rocked to sleep. So good on that. And then I think that's probably going to be our night for the next couple days.
Probably.
So that's where we're at. We're at new passy. We're at no passy. That's the big thing that's going right now. I'm sure that's going to be a continuation for a couple of weeks.
I'm sure that's going to be an ongoing thing, just kind of in general. We're in a kind of, I don't want to say a similar place, but we are in a similar place. We're doing the same thing, but with potty training, where it's like, okay, kid, you're almost 3 years old. It's really awkward when you're trying to change a kid's diaper in a public restroom and she's having a conversation about the people who are peeing next to you. What's he doing in there? Are they peeing? Are they pooping? I want to see. God fucking.
No, you can't see.
Kid, I'm wiping your ass right now. No, that's not how we behave. Mm-hmm. So based on that, we're realizing maybe it's time to get her out of diapers. If you can talk to the people in the bathroom stall while you're getting your diapers changed, it's time.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to judge it.
And so we've been trying to encourage her. And it's one of those things where our passivity is just not working here. Where it's we're like, oh no, Thea, look, it's so wonderful peeing. Isn't it great? Do you want to pee on you don't want to pee on the.
No.
Okay, so I guess we're going to put another diaper on you. Okay, so that's obviously okay. Yay, we're gonna sit on the potty. No. Trust me, we're gonna sit on the potty. It's gonna be really great. Okay, so that's not working. I don't fucking know what to do at this point. I know there's those 3-day challenge type things. It's all right, just be naked. But I don't want to. My apartment is not nice. There's no linoleum in my apartment. It's just old chipped wood that's going to absorb every drop of pee. And my couch is not I don't want pee all over my couch.
Everyone does some variation of that though.
I know, but everybody I know who's done it has a yard or something. Okay, kid, today we're going to just fucking run in the yard and there you go. And it's okay, great. I don't have that. My yard is full of mosquitoes and my neighbor's dog and neighbors and all the assholes who use my yard even though I don't want them to. It's I have no idea.
Telling
I don't
you,
know.
they had this problem with Daniel. Big girl pants and socks.
Yeah.
Because it's so uncomfortable that she won't like it happening.
So far, she hasn't had a problem. Let me rephrase that. So far, she has not been upset by it.
Put the socks on.
I mean, she's always wearing socks.
Oh, that's true. I guess he just isn't. So
what we've been doing so far is like, we're just like, okay, Thea, we're going to school in underwear today. Like, we have underwear, we have changes of underwear.
That's
You're going
why
to
she
wear
was in
underwear
in the car. Okay.
Yeah. And like, for the most part, it's just like, okay, every 30 minutes, every 45 minutes, we're going to go sit on the potty and ta-da.
Yeah.
And I guess like each day she's come home with like 2, 3 like wet pairs of underwear and changes of clothes. I'm like, fuck it. Like is it just going to magically change one day? It's like, no, I stopped peeing. I don't know. I'm like, no, Father, I need to use the restroom today.
That's kind of what happened with our 2 friends and their little boy.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, he just was doing it. But he's also 3 months older than Thea.
I guess. But I don't know. It's like, it's the difference between like, I know she could do it if she wanted to. Like, because she'll come to us every now and then and be like, yeah, no, I need to pee.
Yeah.
I need to pee. Okay, cool. But 9 out of 10 times, like, oh, Thea, do you need to pee? No. And then 3 seconds later, it's like, well, you have a giant blue line down your crotch. The diaper crotch. That'd be really awkward if it was just like a giant blue line.
She pees
pee.
blue.
There would be problems.
There would be. That's a legitimate go to the doctor thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know what comes out blue. Like, anyway. This is gonna go down a weird.
Yeah, it's going down a weird row.
So I don't know. Like, that's just the thing, right? Like, that's where we are right now. And I'm hoping like probably by this time next week it'll be solved. But right now it's just like I want to stick my head into a washing machine.
It's funny to say it will be solved in a week because it probably will. Because I feel like that's how fast shit changes. Like,
only if we're consistent though, right?
Yeah.
Because like we can't put her in underwear at night because she's like 6 hours is too long, or 12 hours, whatever.
You do the pull-ups at night, right?
So far we're just doing a diaper.
Just diaper.
Like we've done pull-ups and diapers interchangeably throughout the day. And then of course there's the issue of like, okay, if she runs out of underwear at school or at home because I haven't done the laundry in 2 days. So I don't know. I have no idea how this is going to work, what the best strategy is going to be. But right now, she's just soggy.
Something I've because you mentioned it doesn't really make her uncomfortable, and that's something that the parents I've talked to who have kids and have done this, like, say that's the real thing is once they start feeling uncomfortable in their wet stuff, which I think is one of the advantages of the pull-ups, is because they're not as like, so you still feel, because you know it is, like, you feel uncomfortable, and if they just don't have that feeling yet, then why the fuck would they care?
Sure.
So I'm just wondering if all of a sudden that will click, where she's in diapers enough and all of a sudden she's uncomfortable, and once you're uncomfortable, then it's like, which is the whole run around naked thing, is that they poop or pee on the floor and then they're in it, and it's this like, but if they don't give a fuck.
Oh, so you don't just clean it up?
No, you let them poop or pee on themselves.
Then I have to be in it.
Yeah. So you clean it up. Like, so for example, when I was listening to the parenting podcast we both listen to, they mentioned that like the one person's kid pooped on the floor, right?
Sure.
And for whatever reason, they just didn't like it. And once they didn't like it, then there's the connotation.
Thea will know she needs to poop and not want, like, refuse to go into the bathroom to do it.
So yeah,
like she will stand there in front of us and just scream at us, "Don't look at me! Don't look at me!"
So you're gonna let her poop on herself is what's gonna happen. If she's naked, you let her poop on herself, and then that feels really shitty. You see what I did there?
I just want to pay somebody. I wish I could just like I wish it was a video game, right? I could just like, I'm sorry, how much do I need
What's this loot box cost?
to skip the potty training? $100. Fine. Take my 1,000. Okay, here you go. Next year's salary. I don't make much. Just fucking take that shit. Take it.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have to let your daughter poop on herself. Like actually poop on herself, which is what will happen if she's naked. She's not gonna know to squat to poop. She's just gonna poop.
It's time to talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah. P.S. My son's eating ice cream now. I forgot about that.
Oh, good. He's eating a thing.
Yeah.
He's eating a third thing. Now it's chicken nuggets, French fries, SpaghettiOs.
And ice cream.
Disgusting. And ice cream.
Because I shoved ice cream in his face.
Good.
I took a spoon of ice cream and I shoved it into his face.
And that's how it begins. Next, he's gonna want cake.
Great.
And then he's going to want cookies.
Great.
Well, and then he's gonna want candy.
Great.
And then you're gonna have hell in the grocery store, like I do. Sometimes. No, that's not true because I just get it for him. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna share that.
Yeah,
we're gonna share that.
I won't do that.
Dad's gonna eat most of that. That's Daddy. Bring it here. Bring it here.
I'm fine with that. I want that.
So Spider-Man. I guess at this point, usual comments apply. Spoilers, we're going to spoil everything. If you haven't seen any of the older Marvel movies, we're going to spoil those too. We might spoil future movies. I don't know. Like, the shit happens here. If there's anything Marvel related that you don't want to know, tune out now. That being said, all right. So we just saw Spider-Man. Like, just saw it. Just got back from like being the only. Oh my god! Can I just say I love that movie theater so much? I know you know. I just want to reiterate, we were the only people in there at an 11 a.m. showing. We had the reclining chairs. It wasn't like a big, stupid movie theater where it's like, oh, this screen's so big, you can't see it all with surround sound so loud, it hurts your ears with the glasses theaters you have to put on top of your glasses. Fuck you, reclining chairs. That's all I want. Because I'm a big guy, so being able to put my arms up on both like elbow things and not worry about taking up the other person's space. Oh, it's just, it touches me right there.
Yeah, I like a bigger screen, but it was nice that no one was there.
It was.
So I think when we talk about these movies, I've thought about this a lot. I think before we dive in, we have to do one disclaimer because I know where this is going to go. Did you like the movie? Without caveat it, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really fun.
I also liked it. Now we can talk about it.
Is that your way of like, see everybody, you can ignore this asshole because he doesn't like anything.
It's because like we're like when we talked about Avengers Endgame, you're like, no, I liked it. But so I want to get the like, well, did you enjoy it before we pick it apart? As the understanding of like, no, we still enjoyed the movie.
Sure.
Here's picking it apart.
Here's all the shit I hate.
Yeah. But I still liked it.
All right, so let's start here, I think. So this film serves as kind of like the epilogue to Avengers Endgame in many ways.
Yes.
Like, it takes place in a Starkless world, and it's largely about, Stark's son learning, like coming to grips with his father's death.
Who's going to fill that void? I feel like it's kind of the Batman Dick Grayson story. Like when when Marvel or when DC Comics, when Batman leaves, Dick Grayson has to fill that role. And because you have a Batman-less world, and how does that work?
Sure.
It'd be fine because Batman's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it'll actually be better because there will be less like beating the shit out of the bad guys.
Yeah. And Superman can just take care of it in one shot, but that's a different universe.
Honestly, you know what they need? They need welfare hero. They need Captain Socialism. They need like all those universes just like, hey, everybody, I'm sorry that you're all poor. Here's an extra $1,000 this week. Just go buy yourself that new TV. You don't have to steal it. Just have it.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
All right. So we just solved the crisis of the Marvel universe. Tune in next week when we
solve real world problems like hunger.
Just eat more food. I don't know why nobody thinks about just eating more food.
Why don't we just
hey, you're hungry? There's a steak. Like, there's a cow. Go eat the cow. I don't get it. Eat the chickens. Eat the plant. Grass is edible, I've heard. Cows eat it. I don't know why. So a
Starkless world.
So a Starkless world. So I don't know. Like, I thought that was an interesting setup. Like, the way that they tried to keep that secret for so long really made it feel kind of like surprising and fresh and new.
What's secret?
Like the fact that Stark dies in Endgame, right? Because they were teasing like, hey, Spider-Man Far From Home is going to be coming out after Endgame. It's going to be the final chapter of this other one. Why is it the final chapter after? There's reasons. Well, trust me, all reasons.
Even on the trailer before, they had a whole disclaimer like, if you haven't seen Endgame, do not watch this trailer.
Yeah.
I thought they did a good job with that. So this brings me to, I'm going to go right into this because it's my biggest beef with both Spider-Man movies, and it used to be yours too.
Oh, we're just going to start straight with like our complaints. You're not going to do anything happy?
Because
fine.
This is a good...
You're taking my job now.
Yeah, this is a good
I'm the one who's supposed to be complaining about shit. You're supposed to be all optimistic and happy.
So I really get a little irritated at Iron Spider. Baby Iron Man.
That's fair.
The reason is, and again, I still liked the movie, is for me, it takes away one of the most fundamental things I love about Spider-Man. And it's the fact that like Spider-Man is like a normal guy or kid in some fucking spandex who's really smart and like makes his own, the few tech things he makes. Mm-hmm. And when you introduce the Iron Spider-Man, which is what he is, it's like, well, you're really smart, but you have all of Tony Stark's tech. So basically you have Spider-Man, Batman.
They're skipping the early years of Spider-Man.
Yeah. But while still making it the early years of Spider-Man.
They're making him young, but skipping that like long phase in the comic books where he was just like a kid who is strong and sticky.
Yeah, and I that's the thing about Spider-Man that I fucking love.
And see, I thought they brought that back in this one.
A little bit.
That was the thing I really liked about this. Like, cause yeah, he has all this Stark technology to use to like make all of his inventions, but they finally show like, no, this kid's super fucking smart. Like he's coming up with a plan. Like there's nobody here anymore to tell him like, no, look, you gotta do it. Like you have to do a super spinny grip, tie all that shit together, make sure you hit all the weak points and blah. It's just like, all right, dude, it's you. What the fuck are you gonna do? It's like, okay, let me look at this. He has this, he has this, he has this. I'm going to use this. I'm going to create this. I'm going to twist this. I'm going to do this. And granted, what they're trying to do is show like, okay, he's going to be the next Tony Stark.
Yeah.
But what I liked about that was that it's like he's going to be the next Tony Stark, but he's not going to be Tony Stark. He's still going to be Peter Parker. He's still going to be Spider-Man. He's not going to don an Iron Man suit. He's going to don a Spider-Man suit with his own inventions that have been put into it. That just happens to be made with Stark technology.
And you're right. And I have to kind of let go of that. Like that's the thing that I have to like forego for the Marvel overall storytelling.
Sure.
It just takes a little bit away from something that I love about Spider-Man as a viewer. But I think they did a good job with what you said, where he's Iron Spider, he's still Spider-Man. It's not like he's got a flying suit and he's Iron Man now.
Right.
I think
he kind of.
but it's not like it's not.
It's a gliding suit,
but it's not Iron Man. You know what I mean?
Gliding.
Like he's still web slinging. He's still.
It's a more traditional Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In many ways,
augmented with Iron Man tech. And
yes. And
in that way I can get into it. Because everything else they do with Spider-Man as a teenager, I fucking love.
Yeah, no, it's great. I really enjoyed a lot of the like the nice thing about this is that it's a nice transition from the first film. Like the first film was very much about like you're going to be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and then ironically like the very next fucking film you're going into outer space, which was weird as shit, but whatever.
Yeah.
And like now it's like, okay, you have been to outer space and all of the heroes have died or gone away or retired, which is weird that you just get to retire, but we're dealing with actors, so retired.
Yeah.
And
or off-world as Thor is.
Or off-world or wherever the fuck. That's a whole thing. I'm going to try to avoid spoiling the end credits scene. Because I think those are fun. Those are really fun.
Oh, but I want to talk about one part. Okay.
We'll give an extra spoiler for the stingers. And so like I think because it's very much being said, I was like, all right, so we need the next generation, and we're in I don't want to say a global world now, but we are like a universal world now. So we need Spider-Man, but he can't be friendly neighborhood. And it's kind of Peter Parker coming to grips with that idea. It's like, I am the world Spider-Man. I don't get to be New York Spider-Man.
And something else they did that was a really nice touch. Did you know? So obviously they're in Europe in this, which is his second trip to Europe because Civil War's in Germany. Yeah. So in Spider-Man 1, the only time that he's in Manhattan or close to Manhattan is when he's on the Staten Island ferry and webbing it all together.
Sure.
He's never on the main island. He's always either in Queens or Coney Island.
Yeah.
This is the first time we see Spider-Man in Manhattan, even at the end, symbolizing that transition
into proper Spider-Man.
Yep, just being the amazing Spider-Man, which I thought that was such a nice, subtle... Like not subtle, but like a nice touch where unless you're thinking about it that way, like you just did, that they are bringing the character along, I think in a really nice organic way.
Sure.
What do you think about, something I really like about these films, how do you think they're working with the concept of the teenage superhero and dealing with teenage life? Because that's something I find really endearing about these films particularly.
Well, I think that's the thing that they, like a lot of that coming to grips with being a universal or universal Spider-Man is dealing with that teenage life, because the entire film deals with him basically like trying to mourn while also having to be a superhero. And so
while also trying to be a teenager.
He tries to basically run away from it, right?
Yeah.
Like he's like, okay, I'm not going to be a superhero this trip. I'm going to be a kid. I'm going to enjoy like stressing out over dating. I'm going to try and like figure out like my best friend and like being my best friend while he's trying to have a crush, and like all of those weird things that teenagers go through, but also being pulled away from it by superhero life. And I think that's really touching and fun. And also I think in some ways impossible to do in the MCU. I think if you're going to create a universe where everything is tied together and every other superhero is over the age of 30, metaphorically speaking, then trying to create one teenager who's a part of that in a standalone film just doesn't work. Like, you can't tie that teenage lifestyle into a universe where everybody else's primary concern is being an adult superhero with adult problems.
But I think this movie tackled that really well, right? Where they're like, you have to choose what you want, which is funny because that's a theme of Spider-Man in all the Spider-Man movies and books. Like, what do you choose? Do you choose being a hero? And it's always been predicated on Uncle Ben, right?
Sure.
And now it's not so much predicated on Uncle Ben as the death of multiple heroes, which I'm still waiting for the Uncle Ben thing to come up because it got teased finally.
Did it?
Did you see the initials on the suitcase?
No, I missed it.
BFP.
Oh, cool.
So Ben, whatever middle name, Parker.
Ben fucking Parker. Yeah.
So somehow, because we've never gotten the origin story.
I'm assuming it's Benjamin Franklin Parker because reasons, right?
Yeah.
It has to be.
But if you think about it, so even when he's telling Ned in the first movie what happens, he's like, I got bit by a spider and now I have powers, right? Everything's so flippant to him that at some point, I feel like you can't tease that and not somehow address like that elephant in the room. It's just when they choose to do it. And there's also this idea of Peter Parker constantly looking for a father figure, constantly looking for like a male mentor who fills that gap. I think it's moving towards that moment that we still have never seen. Like, what leads him to become Spider-Man? What leads him to do...
I don't think we're ever going to get that moment.
You don't think they're ever going to deal with...
I don't think they're ever going to deal with Uncle Ben. Unless they do eventually create the multiple realms, the multiverse. I think that story has been told so many times with so much hinged on the Uncle Ben. I can't fathom that they're going to backtrack into that when they haven't done it yet.
It's so interesting because that would mean, in terms of storytelling, they're really letting go of like a fundamental part of Spider-Man's origin, which they haven't done for any of the other heroes.
Tony Stark is going to fill that role.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
You had Robert Downey Jr. in this world, and so you used that Robert Downey Jr.
in that role as opposed to...
and I think if they do introduce Uncle Ben, then what you're ultimately going to do is you're going to remove some of the value that you had with Tony Stark. And so the second you do that, you kind of start to erase his existence. And it seems pretty evident that Marvel is not interested in ruining any vision of Robert Downey Jr. in this universe, at least anytime soon.
And so maybe that's the sacrifice you make in the Spider-Man verse.
I think you have to. For the sake of the story, you have to.
Yeah, which is sad, but it's kind of that same idea. But other than that, I think they've done a really good job at maintaining that core of what Spider-Man is and what he deals with as whichever age Peter Parker you want to make him, right?
Sure.
Like, that he will constantly deal with like the pull between wanting to be normal and wanting to be a hero, like loving being Spider-Man and also just not wanting to be Spider-Man.
Right.
And I think they're doing it in a great way. And I think that pull as a teenager is even stronger. Like I relate to it even more as a 16 or 17-year-old Peter Parker because you don't have the adult reasoning, right? Like some of that's missing in him, as smart as he is. And they do that so well in these films. Like as smart as Peter Parker is, he just fucks up the basics.
Sure.
And I think it's the great part about having the teenager with a bunch of the 30-year-olds. Like, he's the one Tony Stark chooses, but he's 17. So what happens when you marry that with like a Captain Marvel?
Sure.
Right? You know, who actually is, or a Black Panther, you know, the two like strong leaders that are present. I think that dynamic is going to be really interesting.
If that's the direction they go with it.
Yeah, I guess we don't know.
I mean, we kind of do because the films that are on the slate have been released, and the next Avengers movie is called Young Avengers, which implies that's probably going to be Spider-Man, Hawkeye's daughter, Ant-Man's daughter, and then who knows? I've heard rumors that it could be Scarlet Witch and Vision's kids.
See, but I've heard same rumors that the leader of that team next is Captain Marvel. Like, they came pretty out. Kevin Feige came out and was like, she will lead the next Avengers.
She might lead the next Avengers, but is she going to lead the next Young Avengers?
That
or
I
is
don't
she going
know.
to be the leader of like the next major crossover film, whatever that might be?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Because that was not on that list that I saw.
So that will be interesting. So, well, that's what's so interesting about watching this movie in the grander scheme of things. I just don't know what to expect at this point anymore. I feel like we've known up to this point where things are going.
Well, I have some ideas, but that's going to bring us into the end.
Yeah.
End
So
of the
we'll
film.
get there.
So let's first jump into like the other major part of this film that we haven't even touched on, Mysterio.
Yes.
I thought the way and I want to point out, like, if you've been listening so far and you've been ignoring the spoilers, because if you've seen the trailers and you think you know what this movie is, okay, this is where we're going to talk about what it really is. So the thing I liked about the Mysterio story, like I've always liked the idea of using Mysterio in the films because I think he's such a great cinematic villain.
He's kind of a shitty comic book villain, but
he's terrible for the comics and cartoons, but he's great for movies.
And they did we'll get to that, but they did a great job with that.
And so I think we talked about this a little bit already, but like this was the only time you could have used him in this way and made it work.
Yeah.
The bait and switch, the idea that like all of these things that were established as like possibilities and like are in like the common discussion and Reddit threads and Facebook arguments and blah blah
and
blah,
comic books and
everything,
yeah,
based upon the like the potential multiverse from Captain America's decision and Iron Man's death and like all they oh my god, Thanos and time travel and what the fuck?
Yeah, what are the repercussions of
How
it?
does this work? God damn it!
Yeah.
All of this is only possible right now when those questions haven't been answered. Because you can say like, okay, here's the answer.
Multiverse.
Dumbass. I thought it was great. I mean, and you missed it. That was the sad thing. It's like you largely like you walked out and I was like, no, dude,
I had to pee so bad.
It's about to Nick, this is the moment. Like if you haven't figured it out, this is the moment. He got the MacGuffin. It's about to
No, once that happened, I knew that it was gonna get revealed.
Yeah.
But he was and like
no, I couldn't help but laugh because I was like as soon as they were like the Mysterio comes out and fights a big ass thing, I'm like, oh, that's a great illusion.
Well,
like,
and so
this is okay. I see what they're doing here. Cool, I like it.
And see, this is where it threw me off, is because they've deviated so much from certain, like the Vulture's origin story is completely different.
Completely different, but also kind of the same.
No, because the Vulture origin story, he wants to be young. Like that's
Yeah.
his, and he was already rich. Like he's a rich dude who wants to steal youth.
Okay, I guess that's true.
Yeah, so
I guess that's true.
he's
Okay.
still stealing stuff.
I was thinking, I was thinking like he's a thief who's stealing stuff to save his money, and he built a cool machine.
Yeah, and in the books, he's trying to become young.
Yeah.
To keep his youth. He's a rich dude who's trying to keep his youth.
Sure.
So at that point, I was like, all right, they're just going to change villains' origin stories. So, which they did.
They did, but also like completely
they didn't.
not.
So I was just like, okay. So once we got going, I was like, okay, he's definitely going to be a bad guy. It's going to be illusions. I thought maybe it was like alien tech, but then sure enough, like, no, it's pretty much Mysterio's fucking origin story.
It's all of the Iron Man movies coming back to bite him in the ass.
With Mysterio, and it's still special effects. That's the best
still
part
special
of it.
effects. It was so good.
It's techie special effects.
Yeah, it was. Oh god, it was so.
It's perfect. It was.
In the fact, like in his monologue as he's explaining what happened, because there's like obviously you have to like because Mysterio is just esoteric enough that not everybody knows Mysterio the way they know like the Green Goblin or something like that.
Yeah.
At this point, or Dr. Octopus.
And by the way, that monologue is so good because it's so good of the comics about just a really egotistical like.
Oh yeah,
he monologues. He legit
Super monologues,
and it's awesome.
and he just kind of is going through. It was like, oh, can you believe it? And this guy who came up with this ridiculous ass story of a multiple dimension planet where I just pop through and have to save my family. It's just ridiculous that assholes want to believe it right now. Like, yeah, we did.
Yep,
I wanted it
yep.
to be true. I figured it out pretty early that it wasn't, but I wanted it to be true.
Once they had the let's go get a beer. Well, I saw the thing fly off the Ferris wheel, right? And I was like, oh.
And
okay.
that was the moment I was like, all right, well, I know what that is,
Yeah.
obviously.
But when he's like, let's go get a beer, and he started talking about the glasses, which we should get to, I was like, okay, got it.
Yeah, the MacGuffin.
Got it.
As when you started figuring, because at one point, like early, them was like, oh, cool, they're keeping the like the introduction largely the same. Like, wait, what? It's like nothing. My bad.
They had me.
It was cool. It was great. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Even though you knew the comic books, you still believed it because, like, Marvel has set up this universe that seems like it's true, and they've made like the whole like pitch for the multiverse or multiple timelines or whatever the fuck they're calling it. It's like, no, look, it could be true, and then it's like, haha, dumbasses. Of course, it's not true in this way.
I just figured he was going to end up being
cool.
I figured he was going to be a bad guy. I was just like, oh, they're changing Mysterio. They're going to change it because they've tweaked just enough from the comics that you'll buy into whatever they'll change because it's close enough.
Right. Right.
They did it in Captain Marvel when Captain Marvel was not Jude Law, and everyone thought that was going to be Jude Law because Marvel is a man in the comic books.
Oh, really?
Everyone.
I know that.
That was the big tease with Captain Marvel. Is that
cool.
Marvel was.
I didn't know that. I had no idea. I was just like, whatever, cool.
Yeah, that's what people were like. That's what people were like pissed about it. Because, God forbid you gender swap something, everyone loses their goddamn minds.
Right.
They're good at that, though. They're fucking good at it.
Sure. Exactly.
It's beautiful. It's really good storytelling.
And so I thought and so once you finally get into like the special effects and Mysterio using his powers.
Oh God, it was so good.
Like it only really happens a couple of times when like the villainous way, but it was so absorbing. I'm like, this is so beautifully cinematic and so like you really felt lost and trapped, and it was so well done.
It's something I loved about that. So one of the things that referencing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse that I love about that movie is how unabashedly comic book it is.
Sure,
and that you can do an animation, which makes it such a great movie. Like, because I've watched that movie multiple times, and it's to me still the best Spider-Man film because it's like, this is a comic book movie, kind of like a comic book because it's animated.
Oh, sure.
With Mysterio, unless you lean into that, I don't think he works. And this movie leaned into, like, I felt like it was a comic book. Like,
oh yeah.
Like, and you were, at least said, totally immersed, and it felt like watching a live version of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in a beautiful way.
Right.
And they didn't hide from what makes Mysterio awesome.
Sure.
It was just, I mean, I was just engrossed in it. Something these Spider-Man movies do for me, and this is why I like them so much, is they're the one Marvel film, besides maybe the end of Endgame, where Captain America says Avengers Assemble, which I was 100% into.
Oh yeah, no, I was there.
Yeah, that was great. But these are the one movies where I feel like emotional, like, oh my God. Like when he gets hit by the fucking train, I was just like, oh my God. Like for some reason, the Spider-Man movies put me on such an edge in a way that none of the other superhero movies do. Even though I know he's going to win. I know he's going to be fine. Yeah. But like Captain Marvel, I never feel Captain Marvel's in danger. I'm just like,
she's going to run into the Superman problem pretty quick, I think. And I'm curious to see how, like, because so far Marvel hasn't met a problem that it can't solve. So I'm curious to see how they deal with the Superman problem.
Good. So you know what I want them to do? I want DC to watch how they do that and then do it.
Yeah, please.
Because I want a good Superman movie.
Except then I want them to make Superman a woman. Just bring in Supergirl. I'm okay.
They're already doing that. Good. That's going to happen before Superman. But
thank you.
No, it's funny how invested in that hero I get, more so than any of the other Marvel heroes. And it's not that he's my favorite. I just think they do such a good job at, like, you feel like he's a kid being a superhero. And for me, because I feel like he's a kid being a superhero, my investment skyrockets because I don't want him to be hurt. I'm like, he's a kid.
Yeah, that's fair. Like when watching him limp was like, I will say, like watching him limp, like, oh, you actually got hurt. Like you're actually injured. That's you don't see that in the superhero films. Like even in Captain Marvel, when she's like beaten the fuck up and captured and all that stuff, I'm like, yeah, but you're also just kind of like hobbling. Like he was limping as like a normal. Like, it was effective
because he got hit by a fucking train.
Yeah, but it's like, you're Spider-Man. Didn't you just stick onto it?
That's what I thought he did, but no, he
got hit.
Yeah. But it's something that these movies do really well. They're like, do you like the setup of his relationships with his friends?
I'm unsure. I think I do. I think I like the way they developed his best friend in the first film.
FOS? The FOSs?
The FOS. God. I also think it doesn't fucking matter at all anymore. But I think
we'll get to that.
We'll get there, I suppose. I think developing the best friend, the man in the chair, as they called him in the first film, I thought that was good. I thought that was like a very nice way of like establishing that he needs somebody he can do. I thought that was a good relationship.
He needs a friend.
I thought having Mary Jane figure it out was wonderful. I was really glad.
I like that.
That she was just fucking smart, and she was like, it's fucking obvious. You run away. Spider-Man appears in a different fucking country that we're in.
It's Superman Clark Kent problem.
No shit, you're Spider-Man. Yeah, but at least Superman is like, okay, you can fly. Like, he could fly anywhere in a matter of seconds. Like, whatever. It does, like, who fucking knows?
But it also
but Spider-Man is like, but why the fuck are you in the same place that, like, we're the only goddamn New Yorkers in this city right now?
How are you here?
I wonder who you might be.
Well, I like that they mentioned, so the one thing they do in her little reveal, right, where she's 65% sure that he was Spider-Man, is they bring up how secret identities actually work in comic books and like pull it to your attention is that you have to be unassuming, right?
Sure.
She said like, well, no one watches you. And it sets up a really good rule if you have trouble buying into the Clark Kent as Superman or whatever, crafting that like unassuming secret identity. I love that she kind of brings that up. Like, how does no one else notice?
Right.
No one else cares.
Yeah, exactly.
It also set up their romance. Like, well, why is she watching him?
Oh, smudgy.
Yeah, which is but
that's touching.
That courting, that teenage romance courting stuff in this one, I thought was done.
It was great,
brilliantly for both Ned and Betty, in their like fast relationship.
Yeah, and like the weird, like overly quick, never gonna last. You never think it's gonna last.
Every relationship I had in high school.
I don't even know. Maybe, yeah, sure. Yeah. It was like you look at each other, it's like hormones. It's just hormones. Yeah.
And then the other one where it's more awkward and dragged out, and you get to see Zendaya's Mary Jane or MJ, who I love, but you get to see her have another level of like, she was so snark and smart and like, and you see that that's also her defense mechanism. And so to see her play the other side of the like vulnerable teenage person who has a crush, I thought she does that great. And you get to watch her flip it in this movie.
Right.
I'm looking forward to more of her. Like, I want more of her character.
I thought she was dead for a minute because they were giving her so much like, oh, look, she knows she's gonna kiss something. Oh, she's gonna fucking snap her neck. They're gonna snap her neck. They're gonna Gwen Stacy her. My secret hope is that they Spider Gwen her instead. That she becomes Spider Gwen or something.
I just hope Spider Gwen happens.
That would be great.
I want the multiverse. At this point, I want the Spider-Verse.
I bet they can't. I wonder if they can.
They can. They can. I just think it's a matter of, does it fit into the scheme? They introduced Miles Morales into those movies inadvertently on purpose.
Right.
In the first one. I think it's just a matter of, I think it's the out for when Tom Holland's contract goes up.
I guess that's true. You could. Although it'd be awkward to have Gwen Stacy be like 30 years younger than her.
Or I think
I kind of feel like Tom Holland's going to be Spider-Man or Peter Parker for the next 20 to 30 years. Why they
cast a 17-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. And that way he can grow into the Tony Stark role and then hand off to another person when he reaches 50.
Probably be Miles Morales.
Yeah.
That's the general, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bring in Miles Morales. Maybe Miles Morales is with Gwen Stacy. That'd be fine. I guess they're kind of setting that up in the into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, that's true.
I think they do. This movie in general, I think, does a good job at telling its three stories: the story of the hero, the reluctant hero, the person who loses the one they love and trying to fill those shoes, and then the teenage romance. I think it did a great job at capturing those. And I also, this is what we were talking about a little bit before we were on mic. When you made me realize, no, they tell Mysterio's story, like they did, like to a T in the comics, just tweaked, right?
Yeah.
Perfectly. Jake Gyllenhaal crushed that role.
Oh yeah, because you buy everything he's saying at every moment.
Because he's such a good hero. Like he's such that perfect, like Jake Gyllenhaal's always the good guy. He's like always a good guy.
Right.
Even when he's the bad guy, he's the good guy.
Oh, see, I kind of feel the opposite about Jake Gyllenhaal.
Really?
You're always a bad guy. Even when you're supposed to be a good guy, I kind of feel like you're a bad guy right now.
But I also feel like he was just having fun. Like I'm like, I love Jake Gyllenhaal in comic book movies because he's a comic book fan, and I feel like he's always just.
What other comic book movies has he been in?
Prince of Persia. He was in. He was in another one too.
I skipped Prince of Persia. It looked bad.
It was bad.
That wasn't a comic, but that was a video game. But either way,
same world. But but
same nerd stuff.
Yeah, nerd stuff,
Chris.
But he wanted to be Batman. He was almost Spider-Man, which I think is so funny. I
was thinking about that while we were watching.
He was Spider-Man for like 2 weeks until Tobey Maguire came back.
Yeah,
money grab. So it was nice to see him in this movie where I feel like he just had fun. Like he just ate that role up and everything that it was.
He chewed up scenery.
Yeah, and he did great with it.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also say, like, I love Colby Smulders and, like, all the money she's making off of being,
she is my favorite person. I actually don't know anything about the person. I just love the actress.
And she's just like, I'm like, man, you've got such an easy role in these films, but you just keep baking. You just keep, like...
You're constantly there. You get to be a badass. You always, like, you are one of the supreme badasses of the universe. You are... like everywhere, you get to be in all the best movies, hang out with all the, like, have all the best lines right there with Samuel L. Jackson. Ugh.
She's the perfect psychic. She's got that psychic thing down.
It's great,
and she's always just a good, like, and I'm sure she's cheap for Disney, so it's like,
I bet,
like a cheap. We're like, oh, we need to save some money.
Yeah, she hasn't launched out of this like I thought she would.
I don't think she will.
I wonder why. She's good. She's talented.
She's great. So I've been rewatching Breaking Bad, and Aaron Paul, who is also. He's the younger guy in that show. If you haven't watched it, he's great too. He's a great actor. He's really talented. And the same question, like, why isn't he launched out of TV?
Well, I feel like for him, it's easy. It's because he got like kind of pigeonholed.
I think it's more than that. I think it's a look and a style of acting. And Colby Smulders, to me, it's hard to like, as someone it's hard for me to explain why. But she's the same thing. It's not that she's not good. It's not like there's just something about her. I'm like, she just isn't like a big movie leading lady to me.
I thought she would have another leading role on TV, though.
I think
that's what I was expecting.
Well, I think she's making enough from doing these that she can go do like indie films. I bet you if you looked at her IMDb, you'll see indie films.
Well, obviously she was in Friends from College.
Oh, was she in that show?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was great.
Yeah, I think she's just like, she's a small role and big budget or an indie darling or a TV actress. And I don't mean that in a bad way because TV's at like its fucking golden age right now.
Sure.
That's just like, when you look at her, like, that's just how she feels. Like you look at some actors, you're like, you don't strike me as a TV actor. You strike me as like a movie actor.
Right.
But she's great in these and she does the role. Like she just knows her role and how to do it well.
Sure.
And she'll be around forever. They're never getting rid of her.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. Well, I don't know. Maria Hill. I guess maybe she's just kind of like when Sam L gets tired of being in these.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. She's just always like, I also don't think Sam L will ever get tired of being in these because he also loves this shit. He just likes to work. That dude
Yeah, I mean, you get to be the biggest badass in the universe and wear an eye patch. Dude ain't going nowhere.
Sam L's me if I ever had, like, my acting career ever blew up, where I would just be like, I will do everything. You know why? Because it's fucking fun. Yeah, because I think he just loves doing it.
Do I get to be a badass? Yes. Okay, I'm in. I'm in.
Can I do these forever? I can.
Do I actually have to do anything in these films? Can you just make me... Do you have enough money to digitize me when the stunt gets hard? All right, cool. Yeah, do that.
He also doesn't ask for a shit ton of money. Like Star Wars, he basically did for the actor equivalent of nothing.
Right.
Because he just wanted to be...
Didn't he say he demanded to be able to say, "May the Force be with you"?
That's all he wanted.
Catch.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's like the greatest career ever.
Right? Say all of your favorite things.
Yeah, I want to be in this movie. Okay.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, how much do we need to pay you? We can do that. We can do that. So let's talk about so we liked it. I think overall it was a pretty solid.
All right. I think at this point we're at let's talk about the two stingers, right? Because that's when I had the most. All right. So the two stingers, let's talk about the first one, the J. Jonah Jameson. So Spider-Man swings through the city, saying goodbye to MJ after swinging with her. J. Jonah Jameson on thedailybugle.net, which is fucking InfoWars.
So good.
And if you played the video game, it's that. And of course, it is J.K. Simmons back from the original Spider-Man movies. Oh, so great.
So I kind of knew this was coming. So there was this big tease to this scene, which I think is such a good setup. So Kevin, I think it's Feige or Figgy.
Who cares?
The guy who runs the show, right? The store, basically the showrunner for
Big
movies.
Kev.
Yeah, Big Kev, movie runner. Came out where they were like, why haven't you brought J. Jonah Jameson into the Spider-Man universe? And he was like, well, this day and age, print paper isn't really around. It's hard to do that storyline. We want to make sure we do it right. And then I swear to God, like 48 hours later, he was like, well, and he's like, also, I don't know if you could replace J.K. Simmons. He did such a great job. It was so iconic of those Spider-Man movies. Like 48 hours later, J.K. Simmons is like, oh, I would love to play that role again. And like, all of a sudden I was like, this is interesting. And then I heard someone was like, the Stinger's great. And all of a sudden I was like, he's going to be back, isn't he? And he shows up and it's because it's like, you can never, it's like the Alfred from the Tim Burton Batman. It's like Batman changed. Alfred never fucking changed.
Right.
Because it's just so good at it. But then there's a bigger thing that actually is a huge...
And in the Daily Bugle, I don't know, let's call it episode, release, telecast, whatever. Long story short, they unmask Peter Parker,
which I did not see coming.
At least theoretically, I imagine it's going to have that effect. It could also go in like some people believe it, some people don't. But theoretically, they announced Spider-Man is Peter Parker. Which is why I say like the whole like Spider-Man's friends, the SOFs or whatever, FOSs, doesn't really matter anymore because everybody knows who Peter Parker is. Like everybody is now a friend of Spider-Man if you believe that he did not like viciously kill the hero Mysterio, which is the other thing that it says.
Which is going to be interesting because it's going to change the dynamic of how they make these movies, right? Whatever Spider-Man 3 is going to be, it's going to be something drastically different than the first two films because it can't just be a teenager movie anymore.
If they make it.
Yeah. And I'm really interested. It's again, I'm at this point where you kind of got to be Marvel, I trust, right?
Yeah.
Because that's going to take away one of the things I love about these movies is Spider-Man, the teenager, because that's gone now. Like you've just vaulted him into like.
Not to mention, I think he was graduating this year anyway, but still.
He's a freshman in the first movie, which means he's a sophomore now.
I guess, yeah, that's true.
Because
he snapped.
Yeah.
Or blipped.
Blip.
They call it the blip.
The
kids at least call it the blip.
The blip. So now you basically have a junior, a 16, 17-year-old who can't be in school, can't be. So now it's how do you be a hero when everyone hates you, which is a good Spider-Man trope, right? Some people hate him, some people don't.
Well, see, I think that's going to be one of the interesting things. Like how, and this is going to sound stupid, how woke is Marvel willing to get with this?
What do you mean?
If they are going to introduce the Daily Bugle as effectively being InfoWars, as being this kind of alt-right metaphor for news, then like, are they going to like fully radicalize Spider-Man in the world? Are they going to make it into like it's this villainous alt-right group who hates him, who is being vicious, who is going to launch into like white supremacist style attacks and like kind of replace white supremacy with Spider-Man? Or are they going to kind of backpedal and just be like, oh, it's just the news, everybody hates Spider-Man, oh golly gee, it's so bad?
I don't know. It depends on how people you're right. And that's something I'm interested with Disney because as Disney tries to push boundaries in these movies, how far do you go before it's not safe anymore? Because Marvel's always been safe.
They've always been safe, but they also cast Brie Larson as the new face of Marvel. And it's not like she's exactly been quiet about her political stance.
No, and it's not like she was a popular casting either, which is interesting.
And you figure they're like they made Black Panther, which was very, like very outwardly political. They're making in was it Shang-Chi, which poses to be outwardly political.
I mean, you're gonna have your first LGBTQA+ superhero in the Internals.
Like, are you going to go full like Vice media wokeness, or are you going to just kind of like try and play it safe? Like, oh no, this is the classic storyline where everybody hates Spider-Man for a little while, but he still fights to save everyone.
But in those stories, no one knows he's Peter Parker.
Until Civil War, when everybody knows he's Peter Parker.
True.
And then somehow he goes back in the closet. I don't remember how that happens, but there's a thing.
Comics.
And then there was also the long stretch with the Secret Wars, where he was out and his clone had died.
Well, that would be when you have the clone, which means do you get another Spider-Man?
Right, which would be weird. Which of course he could die a second time. It's not like that's going to ruin fans, whatever.
No, but here's why I wonder. So you're right. We had these, like, you have a casting of Brie Larson, but she was cast because she won an Oscar that year. And they were like, oh, you won an Oscar? Do you want to be a superhero?
Right. Doesn't change the fact that she wasn't exactly quiet after they cast her.
No, which I think is great.
Absolutely.
But they also were really safe with Captain Marvel. Like, I've rewatched
the film.
That
You're
is
right.
That is
incredibly safe film.
That is the safest Marvel film that has been made.
It was the safest feminist statement that you could make in a superhero film.
You were like, we want to... Well, I got this.
We're going to have you pet a fucking cat.
We'll montage people telling you can't do stuff to make a message, as opposed to like being more like. Which again, if you want to talk about the difference between that and Black Panther was less safe in that way.
Right.
So I don't know.
You're going to allude to a lesbian relationship without actually giving it to you.
Yeah. So, but maybe that's kind of the way Marvel. Maybe Marvel's at a point where they're like, "Fuck, you're still going to come see it."
I mean, you're right. I mean, I will,
and I will.
A lot of people will. I'm curious how many. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to guess.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what they're going to do. I have faith that I will be wrong regardless. But I'm curious to see how far they're willing to push that boundaries because at least in the video game, which is the other place where I've seen them take the Daily Bugle and make it into an InfoWars style whatever. They're like, in that world, they introduce it and they very blatantly say, like, some people think this guy is absolutely batshit crazy and some people don't. And the people who don't are very much more like the radical right. And the people who do are very much, or who don't are very much like the normal people who are left leaning.
That, honestly, I bet that's probably what happens, because it makes sense storytelling wise, because people saw Spider-Man help save the world too.
Sure.
And so you're probably,
well, did they? Because he got blipped and then he just shows up off of from some other planet.
I'm sure that's all the news coverage and shit like that. I'm going to assume that people understand in this world who Spider-Man is, and like,
I think there's an allusion to it with Flash.
Yeah. And so I think that you're probably going to get but then it's still a political statement. Basically, if you believe this kind of bullshit,
right,
you're cray-cray. Yeah. And I think that's the way to take it. The other thing I noticed is, do you think he starts selling pictures to InfoWars or JJ or Daily Bugle?
No, because they know.
Oh, they know he's Spider-Man.
So he can't.
Fuck.
That's the thing, right? Like, because that was my first thought too. It was like, oh,
because he was taking a
selfie. Yep. Here's the Daily Bugle. It's like, oh, cool. They're setting up his post high school job for the next film. Awesome. And then they out him like, oh, nope.
And I will say, did not
yes,
see
you're
that
Tony
coming.
Stark now.
Yeah.
He also didn't get rid of the MacGuffin, which means he still has access to all of the Stark technology.
And his aunt's dating Happy Hogan.
No, that's a smoochy, whatever.
Yeah.
So the last thing we should touch on before we go is the last the post credit stinger. So it's funny, but also has a lot of real implications.
Which is funny because we haven't had one of those in a while either.
Right. So I have two things.
Yeah.
First off, the description of what happens. So not Tony Stark. Nick Fury and Maria Hill are driving in the car that they've been in with a different license plate, which I need to find out what all the license plates mean. Because the first one that I saw had ASM with a number after it, which is, of course, Amazing Spider-Man. And then there were other ones, and I was like, I bet these are all comic issues, like important things that are happening here. And I just don't know what they are. But that's a whole other thing.
Reddit. Go to Reddit.
I'm sure. Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it's been peeled apart like a 30-page description or like a 40 page click description of. Anyway,
I've just discovered Reddit, by the way. That's totally random.
It's awful. Don't go there. You get sucked into a hole and it ends with racism.
I know, but then they have creepy stories, and I like the creepy stories.
So they're driving in the car, and then suddenly they both switch, and they're the Skrulls from the Captain Marvel film. And so they make a phone call like, hey, we fucked up. We gave the dude the glasses and then he was an asshole and everything went wrong. You might need to come back here. And then they flip to Nick Fury on a beach that's switches from being a beach to a wall. And very quickly you see as the camera pulls back that Nick Fury is on a giant fucking Skrull spaceship. Mm-hmm. And then it goes. So I have two questions around this. Number one is, of course, where do you think it goes? But number two, do you think this implies that Nick Fury and Maria Hill have forever been Skrull, and that they are actually, and that Nick Fury has been on the Skrull spaceship since Captain Marvel? Or do you think that he just left at some random point?
Okay, number one, I didn't think about that. My guess is he probably left after Endgame because he gets blipped. Either him or the Skrull gets blipped. But I think could
have been either or, right?
Well, no,
I guess it has to be him because he has the button.
She shows up and she goes, "Where's Fury?"
Well, more importantly, he had the button which she gives. Although he could have just given it to the Skrull.
True, but I have a feeling that two things. So the Skrull, Nick Fury says, when he's like, call Captain Marvel, he's like, don't bring her into this, which I thought was a great nod to or don't even go there.
Don't use her name. Something like that.
Yeah, because she's probably with Nick Fury for the Skrull-Kree War, because she alludes in Endgame that there's shit going down everywhere, right? And now all these people are back, which means shit's going down everywhere.
Sure.
So my thought is probably post-Endgame, I think would be realistic, is that he gets blipped back, and then to deal with the Skrull-Kree War, which I'm assuming is coming, goes with Captain Marvel, because I think that's going to be the second Captain Marvel movie.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think it has to be, because that's the only way that you can build off of the first film, right? Is you just have the big war. Of course, the problem with that logic is that what has been building up to the war, and if the Kree have been the good guys in the time since, then
but maybe we find out that they're not.
Maybe they still haven't been the good guys; they're still the bad guys, and fuck everyone. Sure, that makes sense.
Because I think because there's some movies in between Captain Marvel 2 and what's happening. I think you're going to see, like, I think the Eternals comes out before Captain Marvel 2.
I think Captain Marvel 2 was one of the last movies announced too. I think and so that would imply that it's going to more or less lead into whatever the next big crossover is.
Right, which I think they're using Captain Marvel.
Unless Captain Marvel 2 is the next big crossover.
They'll probably use Captain Marvel like they used Captain America. I think you're going to see a lot of correlation between how they used Captain America's character and Captain Marvel's character to bring the Earth world and Galactic worlds together.
That's a weird statement, because obviously Captain America didn't bring anything else together.
But they were,
I know what you're saying.
But they were using
the person that ties.
Captain America was the glue for everyone else. Tony Stark was the like one you rooted for because you liked him.
And that's where I think we have a problem now that they have to figure out before Captain Marvel 2 comes out is how are you going to use Captain Marvel? Because on the one hand, I kind of feel like you have to use Captain Marvel like you use the Hulk. It's the unstoppable force that you use sparingly. But on the other hand, she's a great character and she's going to be the face of the whatever. And so you have to also use her to build a storyline. And I don't know how you're going to solve those two. You have like this unstoppable force who can stop anything. And also at the same time, not just solve everybody's problems.
You kind of have to do, so I think you deal with it the Superman way. So the thing with be it Captain Marvel, Superman, or Captain America, is they're the all good, right? They're the moral high ground, all good character that's a great character who's overpowered. Captain America's not as overpowered, so I think you just let her be overpowered, and you kind of have to use her sparingly. It's like people were pissed in Endgame because she didn't do enough. Well, you can only have her do so much, right? You can only have her be the big bad when you need the big bad. It's the Superman and Justice League problem, right? Like if you read the Justice League storyline, Superman is his best when all else fails and you need him to be the overpowered person. But you can use her as a leadership position, which is what you need, because it's not Spider-Man, right?
No, I mean, she has to. And
Black Panther has a country to worry about, so it can't be him.
Unless he gives leadership of the country to Shuri. Which I that's the other thing I've heard is maybe Shuri joins the Young Titan.
I think she becomes Black Panther for a while in the comics too.
Oh, cool.
So I think what you're going to see is, I think they're going to let her be overpowered and just pick a really big bad who can neutralize her power. Again, it's what you do with Superman, right? You figure out a big enough bad or you neutralize the power, but you let her be the grounding force, the leader that the team needs, and you let.
Do you make Adam Warlock a bad guy?
Maybe.
Because that would do it, right? Like the guy who beat Thanos becomes the next big bad until you move into the Cosmic and Galactus?
You could be. I think she's more important for what she does as a characterization-wise, than what she does power-wise. You need her to replace Captain America. You really do.
Yes, but at the same time, you can't ignore the fact that you had her like single-handedly destroy Ronan the Accuser's entire fleet after showing him like destroy all of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
But then you also proved that Thanos could fight her.
That she could beat Thanos with a fully formed Infinity Gauntlet couldn't beat her until she could single-handedly prevent his fully gloved hand from snapping everybody away. So that means a normal Captain Marvel can take on a fully gauntleted Thanos who beat the living shit out of the Hulk.
Right, but we also understand that there are bigger batters in the Marvel Universe than Thanos.
Sure.
And that's what it's going to be, right?
Although how many were better than Thanos with a fully formed Infinity Gauntlet? Arguably
Galactus.
And even then...
I mean, there's some X-Men characters you can bring in the mix.
You could bring in Onslaught would be an interesting
Onslaught,
one.
Apocalypse. I mean, some of these characters that are now at their disposal. There are some other Fantastic Four villains that are pretty, because the Fantastic Four,
Doctor Doom would be an obvious one.
Because the Fantastic Four are overpowered, and we already established that there are bigger galactic forces at play.
That would be interesting, is that they brought Doctor Doom into the fold. Like, that's the next obvious villain. Like, that would be the best villain for the entire whatever.
Yeah. Like the ground level villain.
Yeah, but then it really seems like they want to go galactic. Like, they want to bring in the cosmic universe.
I think if Marvel does what I think they're going to do, which is smart, is you use some of the same groundwork you did before. So you're going to have a ground level villain and a galactic villain. So
yeah, but I really don't want to see Doctor Doom be like the schmuck villain.
You'll have someone like Loki. You'll have someone like that though, or like but then you had Ultron. You had a random one.
Ultron, that was a mistake. They wasted Ultron as well.
Yeah, they did. Again, but if you read that, if you read the article I tell you about, you find out that
I know.
that was not,
I did read. That's the one I read.
Yeah, that was not on the person designing that shit now. So,
right.
I don't know. I think there's a lot. I like that there's a lot to look forward to now, not knowing what it's going to be.
Yeah, I agree.
Secret Wars would be great.
I think we're gonna see the Kree Skrull War sooner rather than later. I don't know if it's gonna be Captain Marvel 2 or if it's gonna be the next big crossover event.
Well, especially now that you have the X-Men. Like, there's having those rights, those Fox characters, and being able to use those terms are game changing.
You can do House of M,
right?
That would be an interesting one.
You just have to let her now be a mutant. You have to use the term
now, like, because they never formally said what she was or wasn't. They just kind of implied that she was gifted and that she was tainted or whatever by the person.
So now you have mutants. Like, it's funny. There really is a lot to play with now. It makes me sad that I feel like the Marvel Netflix universe has gotten wasted a little bit because of what happened, but
what's the a good one? What's the time traveling villain from the Fantastic Four? It was from like the year 3000 or something like that.
I'm so bad at the Fantastic Four's rogue gallery.
There's one, I forget his name, but there's like their big bad that has fought against the Avengers, time traveling bad guy from like the year 3000 or something. I'm probably off. It's probably like 30,000 or some shit. Whatever. Point is, like, that could be an interesting one because that was somebody I think they didn't have rights to because he was a Avengers villain, but he was primarily debuted and fought against the Fantastic Four. And that would be both a good cosmic one. That could be a good one to bring in until you decide to finally do Galactus, because I feel like you need to have the Fantastic Four there and you need to build up Silver Surfer.
Oh man!
I hope we don't have to wait another 10 years for Galactus. I don't want to be in my mid 40s before we see Galactus finally.
No, this is where, like, with all this new stuff, like, I trust Marvel. Like, I think Marvel will do that shit in the right.
I agree, except I also trust Marvel to play the long game.
Yes, I agree.
Like, obviously they've seen that this like three-tiered plan works well. I am concerned that they're going to do. It's effectively. It totally wasn't a 3-act story at the time last time because with the Age of Ultron was just like a throwaway.
But each phase kind of works that way. Like, that's the idea, right? 3 phases, 3 acts to that story. So
yes, I think that's a fair.
Okay. I'm asking as the writer, as the writer in the room.
Effectively, yes, that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to throw stones at them with Civil War. I think they just didn't come up with a plan until after the first Avengers. Or until after the second Avengers, because I think in the first Avengers they were like, "Holy shit, this worked, guys! This worked. Well, John, we can fucking do it."
We didn't even said he didn't plan on using Thanos. He was just I think he did it for like
a gag,
shits and giggles. Yeah.
Like, oh, cool! This is a thing that we can do.
Which is a brilliant way to set up that gag. Like,
sure, absolutely. Let it be sitting out there for somebody in the future. No, that's wonderful.
And I'm sure they were like, done.
Yeah, I think Civil War is where they've kind of formally figured out what it was that they wanted to do. Because once you did that and you got rid of Shield, and then you kind of set the blocks in motion for some of the other stuff. I guess actually got rid of Shield and the first and not the Winter Soldier, but
in Civil War is when the person running it, Big Kev, has complete control.
Yeah.
So it was mapped out before that, but I think that's when he took it and was like, "This is what we're doing."
So let me tell you how it's going to happen now.
And great, because at this point, like, I mean, I think the Ant-Man movies and Thor 2 are probably the least. This sounds broad. Least good movies, and even those I still like.
Yeah, I
love the Ant-Man movies.
They're the least. I mean, I think Ant-Man is some of the best films. I don't think it's the best combined. I don't think it was brought together. Oh, excuse me. As well as some of the other stuff, but I do think it was like I think those films are told incredibly well. They're very tight. They're very direct. They're very clear.
They're well casted too. I
they're
think
very well cast, acted, performed, etc. But they're very much. They feel like offshoots. They're not part of the MCU until they became part of the MCU.
Yeah. Well, we should
all right.
probably.
I think you should probably start wrapping this up because we're an hour and 10 minutes in. So I think, is it fair to just forgo recommendation? I think I'm going to recommend seeing Spider-Man. How about you?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Go see it.
We are going to recommend seeing Spider-Man for this week. And with that, I think we're going to call it, there. As always, you can reach me at Chris Mossigan on Twitter and at Rampant55 on Twitch.
You can find me at NWestmeyer on Twitter and at NWestmeyer on Instagram.
If you'd like to send us an email, let us know what you think of the show. You can reach us at emails at 2dumbdads.com. That's emails at 2dumbdads.com.
Thanks.
And we also have a Facebook group.
Oh, yeah.
We also have a Twitter. It's been a while. It's been a minute.
You can find us at 2dumbdads on Twitter.
I thought it was 2_dumb_dads.
2_.
No wonder we don't have any followers.
We have like 33.
Oh, that's pretty good. It's more than I have. And until next time,
later.
Be well.
Spider-Man, doing everything a Spider-Man can.
Do you think that's enough to get us like not pulled down? Because it's not everything is whatever. So do you think the fact like the notes are the same is enough to get pulled down, or do you think it has to be word for word?
I think it probably has to be word for word. Spider-Pig,
doing whatever on Winkadink.
Yeah.